Good evening and welcome to Blueprint Explosive Exclusive. I'm Madhavdas G. Now, India's first all-electric ride-hailing company, Blusmart, once celebrated as a green transport revolution, now lies in complete disarray. Cabs are stranded, employees are clueless, and founders are allegedly missing in action. The promoters of Blusmart, the Jaggi brothers, Anmol and Puneet Singh Jaggi, are accused of siphoning off loan funds meant for the company. They are accused of misleading investors, lenders, and even regulators. The interim order from SEBI not only restricts them from accessing capital markets, but also prevents them from holding key positions in any listed company for the time being. As per SEBI, EV loans for Blusmart was spent on uber luxurious flats in Gurugram and on foreign trips. So imagine this. Startup founders who positioning themselves as clean tech poster boys use Gensol Engineering as their personal piggy bank. Times Now is leading the coverage on Blusmart's scandal. Before we bring you more back-to-back exclusives on the Blusmart scandal, watch how Times Now's team of reporters are leading the coverage on the Blusmart story.
The Blusmart scandal explodes. Promoters are missing in action.
अनमोल सर नहीं आते, कौन आया था अभी हाल फिलहाल में, क्या बता रहा पुनीत जग्गी आए थे, और उनके अलावा कौन है आप मैनेजर नहीं है? वो थे पहले पुनीत गोयल। तो यहाँ पे बाकी स्टाफ भी आना बंद कर दिया।
The offices are shut, the employees stare at uncertainty.
अभी तो प्रोटोटाइप चालू था, 10-12 गाड़ियाँ बन गई थी, बट बाद में क्या हुआ, सब एम्प्लॉय को हमको निकाल दिया।
तो हम 15 दिन से हमारे सैलरी के लिए रोज दिन में 4 बार कॉल कर रहे, कोई फ़ोन नहीं उठाता, उठाते आपको बोल रहे हैं आप जो करना है वो करो।
From Gurugram to Pune, Bengaluru to Ahmedabad.
तो वो एक जग्गी सा करके है ना, वो भी इधर ही थे क्या?
सब इधर ही था, वो जगदीश था जो उसका एडमिन है, आपको सुरेश इधर ही था, सब टोटल इधर ही था, तो अभी कोई भी नहीं आया है।
This is the office of Wellray Solar Industries Private Limited, an alleged shell company being operated by Jaggi brothers, who basically own Gensol company, also Blusmart.
Public money misused, investors losing trust, and job losses. The startup dream isn't meant to fund golf kits, luxury apartments, and spa bills. It's meant to build, solve, and disrupt for good. Times Now decodes every angle of the Blusmart scandal.
On this edition of Blueprint Exclusive, Times Now brings you exclusive details of the Blusmart-Gensol Saga. It's not just the fraud, it's the cover-up that's equally shocking. Times Now will break down how multiple disclosures made by the company were not just false, they were intentionally misleading. This is disclosure number 1. Gensol told credit rating agencies as far as January, February, and March 2025 that everything was fine. There were no defaults. There were no delays. The company claimed that there was no overdue or default on any loan obligations, but let's graphically break down the truth. It wasn't just a clerical lapse, it was a deliberate denial of doubt on part of Gensol's promoters in terms of talking about the debt obligations that they had. In fact, the claims were of a period from December 2024, Jan 2025 and later. And in fact, the first default occurred on December 31st, 2024. Despite that, they came out to deny on the 6th of January, 10th of February and 3rd of March 2025 that there were any kind of debts or lapses on their part. That's the first bit of information that we're going to bring to you. There's more information coming in. Their claim that there was no overdue or default on loan obligations time period is what we have told you in terms of what really was the default. Now we're talking about exclusive number 2. On January 28, 2025, Blusmart's parent firm Gensol told stock exchanges that it had received 30,000 pre-orders for its new EVs at the Bharat Mobility Global Expo. When SEBI asked for documents, only 9 MOUs were provided for 29,000 vehicles. No pricing, no timelines, and no binding terms, just expressions of interest packaged as confirmed orders. This is seen by SEBI as a clear bid to mislead and has now been unmasked. Let's break it down for you in terms of what we have. So this is the claim that they got 30,000 pre-orders for new electronic vehicles. The probe found that there were only MOUs that were signed, and they were only for 29,000 EVs. And also, of course, going on to say that there were no price terms, there was no delivery timeline that was specified as far as these aspects were concerned. The actual deliverables were indeed exaggerated. Let's quickly take this across to Priyank, who's joining us for more on this. Priyank is also with us. Arunil also joining us, as does Rucha. Priyank, very clearly an attempt to mislead the stock exchanges that has been found on multiple aspects, not just as far as their debts are concerned, but also in terms of what kind of orders they had for electronic vehicles. Priyank.
Yes, Madhav, not even that. The NOC was also fake. That what was found in the SEBI's investigation. Basically, in the year 2024, in the month of June, the first investigation started when the SEBI started asking Gensol regarding that whether you have been paying your EMIs on time or not. They claim that we have got an NOC from these NBFCs, which was certainly suggesting that there was no delay in the payment. But later on, when the accounts were checked, the SEBI found that the delay was quite visibly seen in multiple of the month. That has also been mentioned in this particular 28-page report of the SEBI. Now, what is happening that the Gensol company has been given 2 to 3 weeks of time period to reply back to SEBI, until the time the promoters have been told to step down from the position. What we got to know that one of the Jaggi brothers had gone to his corporate office 3 days back, a day before he had put in his paper, because the statement from the Gensol came out on the BSE website. So officially, since it's a public listed company.
Absolutely, and in fact, we have more breaking news coming in. Another exclusive news break. News break number 3. Gensol received funding to purchase 6,400 electric vehicles, but in a written response dated the 14th of February 2025, the company admitted only 4,704 EVs had actually been procured. That's a gap of 1,696 vehicles, despite the money being dispersed. Let's show you the money trail now, graphically speaking. And this is what we're talking about in terms of buying of these EVs, 6,400 of them. There was 829.86 crores that we're talking about over here. The bank statement was that it's about 775 crores. And of course, we're talking about another 4,704 EVs that were procured. And this is, of course, each EV's price is at around 12 lakhs. And therefore, given that it's only 567 that was spread over 200 crores that are unaccounted for. Rucha is with us. Rucha, not just the purchase of EVs that is unaccounted for, over 200 crores of gap as far as that aspect is concerned, but also you have exposed today at the factory how there was minimal production taking place, just over a dozen such EVs that were produced shockingly over a period of 2 years.
Well, the workers who were working here as progressing engineers, or those who were doing the trials of these manufactured vehicles, spoke with us, and they told us how it took 2 years to only manufacture 14 vehicles. Now, I'm currently present at the Pune's plant of Gensol, and this is the location in Pune's Saga, where the company used to claim that they were manufacturing about 29,000 EV vehicles, electric vehicles, which was also showcased at the Bharat Mobility Global Expo, and the vehicles were expected to be used at the airports of Mumbai, Pune and all the other airports, which was a two-seater, three-wheeler EV, which was going to be very soon launched by the Gensol company. And the NSC personnel, when they came here to investigate and to check what kind of work is being done, how many vehicles this company has manufactured, they found that only 14 vehicles have been manufactured.
Shocking. Over 14 vehicles. That's just the number in 2 years that they were able to manufacture. And that's why this becomes and clearly shows you what kind of activity was going on as far as this company is concerned. The next big disclosure coming in on the show. The company claimed that all loans were being used solely for EV procurement. But what's the reality? 43 crores was spent on a luxury apartment. Funds were transferred to family members and related entities. Circular transactions were used to create the illusion of business activity with funds looping through promoter-owned companies. Let's graphically break down how the promoters of Blusmart used Gensol, the parent company, as their personal piggy bank. Take a quick look at what we're talking about. Real estate of about 42.94 crores that it was spent on. Foreign currency of 1.86 crores. Golf equipment of 26 lakhs. That's the golf kit that we're talking about. And here, credit card payments of 9.95 lakh. Travel bookings of 3 crore rupees. Spa treatments of 10.3 lakhs. And of course, luxury items of 17.28 lakhs that were brought. Arunil, this clearly goes to show you the extent of the violations that we're talking about. You have, in fact, promoters of this company spending crores and crores of money only on their luxurious lifestyle. And that's what makes this so shocking, because they've not only borrowed from, banks, they've borrowed from companies for the purpose of electronic vehicles, but all of that being used for their personal luxuries.
Well, Madhav, Times Now's team investigating in Pune, be it in Gurgaon, be it in Ahmedabad as well. One thing that we have basically startlingly noticed over here is that the offices of the companies basically are in high-end localities. They are in premium locations. But they have also opened what we noticed in Ahmedabad, they have opened a shell company which is in a dilapidated building, and it has been locked up because of unpaid dues as well. Everywhere we have been speaking to people, Rucha spoke to employees, Rucha spoke to investors as well in Pune. They have been highlighting the fact that how major promises were made to the employees, were made to the investors, but what actually stands on the ground is nothing. These promoters, the Jaggi brothers, be it Anmol, who belongs to, who hails from Ahmedabad, or be it Pritam, who hails from Bangalore, they have been indulging in lavish lifestyle only on the basis of the money that they were getting from the company, that is Gensol. The Gensol was giving them money via loans more than rupees 900 crore.
Okay.
And they were using it only for their personal lifestyle.
All right. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. In fact, Arunil as well as Priyank and Rucha, thanks so much for joining us with all your inputs. We'll continue to investigate this story. We'll continue to break the big exclusives right here on Times Now. But let's quickly take this across to our guests. Joining us is Madhavdas G, Chairman of Ardent Capital. Suhail Seth, columnist, is with us. R.S. Luna, former ED of SEBI, is with us. Also with us is Piruz Khambata, Chairman of Rasna Group. Coming to you first, Madhavdas G, as far as this entire Blusmart saga is concerned, I'd like to begin by asking you, one of India's prominent startups has halted operations following SEBI's interim order against the parent company Gensol Engineering over alleged financial mismanagement. How do you view this development? Do you see this as something that's very concerning?
First of all, Blusmart is not a very prominent company. It's one of the small companies that exists in India. So we got to be clear. It's not a very big company. It is a company which was involved in using EV vehicles. The fraud has happened in Gensol. Gensol is a listed company where the promoters of the company have taken money and then diverted that money. They had an arrangement with this company to make sure that they are able to give the vehicles to them to run and manage. And I think the Gensol fraud and criminal misappropriation of money is what SEBI has come down marched on. SEBI has given a report showing diversion of money to related parties. SEBI has demonstrated how money was diverted criminally to personal purposes. And that is very, very concerning. And criminal action should be taken against the promoters of Gensol. And Blusmart has been a corollary damage because associated with Gensol. Blusmart is an operator of EV vehicles, and that's the startup which people are talking about. I think we've got to distinguish between both these companies, even though the promoters in both the companies, or the so-called founders, happen to be the same.
Right.
It's a matter of concern that this kind of fraud has happened, and I think the regulator should take very strong action.
Because you've spoken about empowering Indian entrepreneurs in the past, but at the same time, how do we create a culture where founders themselves, see themselves not just as disruptors, but as custodians of public trust and investor capital? Whatever reforms in this case would you propose, particularly as far as the law is concerned, incentives or education, to hardwire this kind of mindset into the Indian startups DNA?
That's a beautiful question. That's a very good question. I think we have to create a culture of good governance. We have to create a culture of proper systems and processes. And we have to create a culture of making sure that, investors' money is properly used for the purpose for which it has been raised, and proper oversight. And that means, I think the industry association or the venture capital industry, like the Indian Venture Capital Association, should have a massive training program for all the members to sit on startup boards, to tell them these are the important things that you must monitor and ask in a board meeting every now and then. And then you must have founders. You must have proper training and discussion with founders by the venture capitalists and the investor before they invest, to make sure that the founders also understand what their obligation is and the fiduciary responsibility is, and to follow good governance, which is beneficial to them and beneficial to everybody else.
Okay.
Both investors and the founders should come together, and some of them should not act like cowboys to say that don't interfere with me, leave me alone, I'll do what I want and show you. It's not going to work. Because I think system processes are very essential for growth. I think it's a wake-up call for the entire industry to come together and work out means, both for better governance, better oversight, and the founders to understand the responsibility greater and to be much more respectful of investors' capital.
All right, let's take this across to other guests as well. Suhail said it's a wake-up call for the industry. And when you see information like this, 2 years it takes to build 14 vehicles, several thousands or hundreds of crores of orders come in, but they are not fully implemented on ground. There are just so many lapses, including, of course, misleading the stock exchanges as far as their defaults, their debts are concerned, that, there are serious questions that emerge, because a company which was dealing with this scale of, production, it was reasonably successful in its initial years, but just look at what's been going on inside.
So there are a couple of things that are happening. Number one, and the media included, perhaps not you have glamorized the whole world of startups. So they seem to be in an elevated sense of self-worth. They believe they're the next best thing to slice bread. And they've always behaved that way, most of them. Number one. Number two, where is the fiduciary responsibility? And the reason why it's missing is there's a perennial love affair between the VC, the PE, and the founders. These are the so-called sexy businesses. And, they don't want anyone to touch them. Oh, please leave us alone. We are the new kids on the block. With the result that what happens is, when you start chasing valuations and sacrifice values, this is the kind of nonsense you see. Gensol is emblematic. It's symptomatic of the larger malaise. So what you will do is, it'll be operation successful, patient dead, because you won't weed this whole thing from its roots. You will again do, what I would call prescription-based medicine rather than surgery. The tragedy is that this is not new to Mohandas Pai or to Piruz or to the other gentleman, Mr. Luna. Everyone knows this. We're all in the business community. We know the racket that is going on, by and large, in a lot of places. What do the founders do? They take money from investors, mostly VCs and PEs, who get free money from America, almost free. They plow it here. The first thing they do is they enrich themselves. Haven't you read about a gentleman who does UPI kind of businesses? I don't want to name people. What did he do? He bought himself a bungalow in Amritsar, Shergill Mark. There's another person who does delivery of, food, who bought himself a Lamborghini. I'm not begrudging them that. Let your company first make profits. Then
you don't even need to name them. Suhail said you don't even need to name them. I think our viewers would have figured out who they are by now.
That is for your viewers.
Yeah.
But the point is we all know, but we were all quiet. You know why?
Right.
It's very important not to scratch anyone's back in this country. When Piyush Goyal made the point, I added by saying that I believe 80% of Indian startups are rackets. And I didn't mean it to vilify startups. We are all proud of our startup universe. The Prime Minister created Startup India. We are proud of the fact that young people today are not looking at
Well,
salaries.
absolutely. And if the startups succeed, it's good for society as a whole. There are jobs, there are several other aspects, economic activity. But yes, there cannot be violation.
But the thing is, Madhav, you cannot have startups being a law unto themselves.
Absolutely.
What
there is no two ways about that. There is no two ways about that.
It has destroyed the sanctity of the startup universe. So these blokes, these two chaps, have actually created a destruction of the confidence that
but
people
that's why
have in
that's why I
startups.
want to bring in Mr. Luna on this, because Mr. Luna, thankfully the SEBI has latched on to this. Whether the SEBI should have caught on earlier or not, I'm not getting into that. But what happens from here on? Do you think that this is a fit case for our central agencies, say the CBI, the ED, etc., to investigate? Given the scale that we're talking about, it's about hundreds of crores at least. From what we are going by, that appears to be the scale of the scam at the moment. Mr. Luna.
Well, you see, all the activities which you have mentioned, certainly under the SEBI Act, they are the manipulative and fraudulent practices. Certainly, and there are certain actions which, of course, the forensic audit, which has been ordered by SEBI, that forensic audit may bring out new facts which are not available as of now. SEBI is yet to take up the entire investigation, because these are all the findings or observations made based on the preliminary data or information which they have gathered from the company itself. Now really the process will start, because this interim order basically is a show cause notice to the company and the promoters. They will be required to come back to SEBI and put their position before SEBI. Based on that, the SEBI will pass the order, which will be again either confirming this order or modifying this order. And I mean, one can easily see, for instance, if you look at the violation like this at ADA and PFC's conduct letters, they were the forced letters. Obviously, it is not only SEBI action, it is a criminal act. So
yes.
the CBI and the
so perhaps criminal action should follow. That's a very important point you're making. I want to bring in Piruz as well on that. Piruz Khambata, it's not an unfamiliar script, as Suhail says, but there is an expectation, particularly from newer companies, technology companies, and electric vehicle, electric mobility is such an important part of how India wants to move in the future. When you hear such a new tech or a new world company, this kind of a scam happening, it really is disappointing, because there are entire cities, particularly Delhi, where a large part of their operations are that need this kind of electronic vehicle technology, particularly to counter vehicular pollution, which is a common problem that citizens like you and me would face if we are here in Delhi.
No, I fully agree. But first, I would like to caution everybody. There are black sheep in every society.
Yeah.
So what I would not like to happen is that this episode or some recent episodes can cloud the whole startup system, because they are our pride in the world. And I think our Prime Minister has very rightly started this Startup India, and I would not want that this sort of is in the cloud of everybody's mind. So these are exceptions. It happens everywhere. There are black sheep everywhere. So I think that is one thing we have to first pause and think very categorically. Everybody is not like that. Now coming to what is the real problem. Real problem is that in our company, corporate governance is completely lacking. And when I was the president of an association, I actually personally ensured that we take a good consultant and made a guideline. Obviously, as an association, we have to make a voluntary guideline. But I distinctly remember 10 years back making a corporate governance playbook, which we wanted our members to sign voluntarily. And somehow or the other, many people did sign also. And I think the message is to go that every company needs their own corporate governance. We are like family businesses we have. Incidentally, I don't own any big house in Delhi also, for that matter. My house in Ahmedabad was also a rented house before many years. And I don't have any of the fancy cars also, though I'm a third generation, just to put it on record. And though I have zero money from any company, including a bank. So just to put it that way, zero. I have no debt and I have no equity also from anybody. I don't like it. I think I should do business with my money, but there are very few people like me. I say I'm very happy, 100% liability. But that I think today's show is not about me. Today's show is about also one important aspect which I want to raise, and that is the role of the independent directors and the chartered accountants. Now, I was an independent director on a board of a company, and I also was chairing the internal audit committee. Mind you, earlier before I joined, it used to be 1 hour discussions. I ensured the discussions happened the whole day. Everything was examined, and even the junior people, no, junior HODs were supposed to come and present if there were issues. So honestly speaking, why was the whole independent directors made? Were they made just to fly on a nice ticket and stay in a five-star hotel?
That's a big point, because
and just
that
tell
regulation...
the promoter, yes sir, I'll do what you want to
Absolutely.
do. I'll sign what you want to do.
That is
Absolutely.
the point,
That's the point, because regulation doesn't need to happen at the level. All right. Sohail, yeah, quickly, very quickly.
Piruz has said it. Where were the directors? What is their fiduciary responsibility? Where were the VCs and the Ps? Where there's no plant, where the hell were they putting money in? So all of them are rascals as far as I'm concerned. They are all in it together.
Okay.
You tell me, Madhav, if you're investing in a company which is supposed to have a plant, won't you even find out if there is a plant?
Absolutely.
What is it producing?
Go there and do a physical check at the very least and find out what they've been up to. There are basic checks that are in place. I think the larger point coming out is that there is responsibility from this particular company itself. There are those who are supposed to, conduct some kind of responsibility, ensure that there is some kind of check from within. It's not just the regulatory agencies, but a lot more that can be done from within if there is an intent for this kind of corporate governance standards. We'll have to leave it there. Sohail Seth as well as RS Luna, Piruz Khambata. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening.